Hello everyone and welcome to Mountain Lake Journal. I'm Tom Halleck. This week, Plattsburgh City Schools and other school districts across the North Country are canceling in-person classes, at least until after the Thanksgiving break, because of a surge in the number of COVID-19 cases. Last week, every school in Franklin County, New York went to all remote learning. Families that live in more rural areas of the Adirondacks and North Country face challenges when it comes to being able to get reliable broadband. New York State has been working for years to try to expand high-speed internet to every corner of the state. Our producer Michael Hansen talked with families and advocates who say especially now it needs to be more of a priority.
I like to say, I go back to good old Maslow and his theory of hierarchy of needs, where at the base you need, air, food, shelter. After COVID-19, broadband, it should be right down there. It's a necessity. In today's world, without access to high-speed broadband, you're at a great disadvantage. You went from something on the order of, say, 10% telemedicine literally overnight to 100%. You went from everybody in public schools, in school, to overnight, they're all teleschooling at home. New York State has done a good job. There are two major programs that are currently underway. Both started in early 2016 to try and get the state as connected as possible. One is the new New York State Broadband Program. And in conjunction with that, in 2016, when the Public Service Commission authorized the merger of Time Warner Charter inside the state of New York to form Spectrum, one of the criteria for that merger was that Spectrum would add 145,000 additional households to its network. The combination of those two was to get the state to about 99% coverage of high speed being 100 meg or better. The bad news is that 1% is about 100,000 households. They're in rural New York, and unfortunately, a lot of them are in upstate New York.
We are technically in a kind of dead zone, they call it, or a limbo zone, where the broadband is not being brought up as far as it could be. So there's broadband on either side of us, but not here. We don't have cell service, just in terms of the mountains are sort of blocking signals and things, so there's no cell service here. And our landline rarely ever works. So when our internet goes out, we're totally cut off.
Some providers do not offer service in this area at all. There is actually only one provider that will come to our house as a satellite provider. I have another neighbor who has this provider, or had it, whom said he did not get good service, and he discontinued it.
Sometimes the internet works and sometimes it doesn't. So if it doesn't work, then I can't work, and I got to catch up the next day. I got to scramble and figure out, okay, where is there internet that I can use? And so thankfully the libraries around here are really generous with letting us have their internet if we just sit outside, so we can sponge their internet from the truck. So I do a lot of my work. I just got home. That's sort of my mobile office.
The ways to get high-speed broadband are fiber, that's the gold standard, coax, which is cable, or fixed wireless. Satellite doesn't cut it. Best it can do is 25 megabits per second, and the minimum high speed as defined by the state is 100. So if you look at those three technologies, when you get to the Adirondacks, wireless signal doesn't go through dirt. We have a lot of mountains that get in the way. Then we have the Adirondack Park Agency, so you have regulations about the height of towers. And you have 3 million acres, half of the land roughly is owned by the state, and you can't build on it. So there's a lot of limitations about what technology you can put where in the park, which makes it a little bit tougher here than in, say, the rest of the state.
We bought the house in 2016, right before I had her. And one of the first things we asked was, is there high-speed internet access here? Oh yes, absolutely. And so great, move forward with everything, purchased the house, got everything set up. And then we realized that that was not in fact the case. And so I made it a goal for me that by the time, so she wasn't even born yet, she's now 4. So it's been 4 years. So my goal was that by the time she hits kindergarten, which is next school year, we would have high-speed internet here. I don't think we're getting anywhere near close to that goal at this point.
So what are the challenges that families face without access from a school kid standpoint? The homework gap, the child that doesn't have access now is at home and doesn't have the same resources.
We were notified school was shutting down, that we would be going full remote, and I was like, oh my goodness, how is this gonna work for my children who do not have internet access at home? And the school did provide us with Chromebooks, but without internet at home, that was a struggle because I would actually have to drive them to a mobile hotspot, which is about 15 minutes away from here, which I wasn't really available to do that until about 4 o'clock. So we did do that a couple times. I would work all day, go pick my daughter up from daycare, come home, go back out to a mobile hotspot, meaning we're right in the prime of dinner time. My kids have been exhausted just from either doing homework on paper, or my youngest is exhausted from just playing at daycare all day. So then trying to get them focused, like I said, in a car, the ones in the back saying, I need help with this, the one in the front saying, I need help with this, or I don't understand this, and then it's distracting because I'm talking to one and not the other, and it throws them off task because they can't be separated. In September, the school had put us on a wait list for a mobile hotspot, which they gave us the day before school started. Is the internet hooked up? Oh no, this site can't be reached. Tried to get it up and running. We ran into many errors. I couldn't get it to connect to the Chromebooks. So I actually was on the phone with a teacher until 8 o'clock at night trying to figure out. He kept telling me, go to this room. Okay, go on a back porch. Okay, reset this. He really felt that the mobile hotspot was not getting a strong enough cell signal. I've told every teacher I've talked to, I don't envy you. I really, think you guys are trying to do your best, but I do worry, just being remote, how much are my kids missing in school?
It's a consistent level of frustration to just get work done, but it becomes much more infuriating when everything goes out and we can't even dial 911. That's a community safety problem where, we're on the 911 service area, but I can't call you because I have no means to call you with. Our internet goes out at least once a month. Oftentimes, if the internet goes out, it's out for like 2 days, 5 days. There was one time where it was out 2.5 weeks or so.
Is it universally recognized as a necessity? I think before COVID hit, you would have had an interesting debate there. I think after COVID, there's no question. It is an absolute necessity. And the nice thing, it's become very apparent to me, it is bipartisan. It's not Democrat, it's not Republican, it's universal. We need universal access to high-speed broadband across the board.
If this virus is here to stay for a bit longer, as I'm thinking it might be, kids who are in school are going to need internet just as much as they would need a pencil.
It's so much a necessity for kids that are in school.
So yeah, I think it should absolutely be a public utility, and it's not just about there are places in the park where the actual infrastructure doesn't exist, but there are many more places where the economic structures don't exist to allow them to afford it.
I go back to my grandfather in the 1930s. We had rural electrification, and everybody in the country got electricity through the USDA. 1950s, 60s, phones. Why don't we do that in the 21st century and have everybody in the United States have access to high-speed broadband? 40% of the residential real estate in the Adirondacks is owned by somebody with a zip code elsewhere. Vacation homes, second homes, you name it. And that 40% represents over 50% of the value of the residential real estate. So it's people that have business background, they got investments here, they've got a commercial, financial interest in the Adirondacks. If we could somehow get them to stay longer, to move here, especially with COVID-19, what a great place to live, that we could really make an economic impact positively in the area. And what easier infrastructure play than broadband? There's nothing else that is as easy to do with such a fantastic, positive economic impact from my perspective.
As part of a settlement with the state of New York, Charter Communications agreed to expand high-speed internet service to 145,000 new customers upstate by September of next year. But the Public Service Commission is investigating whether the company has inflated or miscalculated the number of new connections so far.